and welcome to the Science Fiction Double Feature Podcast. This week it's a hard spoiled edition. We're going to be talking about Rogue One. This is my co-host Terry. Say hello, Terry.
Hello, Terry.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm pretty tired, but ready to talk about some Star Wars stuff.
Star Wars. Yes, so Rogue One came out Thursday. We both went to a midnight screening, I think. I would have seen it first because of time zones. Yes, Rogue One is, if you don't know, it's about it's a Star Wars story, which means it's not an episode of Star Wars. It's a spin-off film that it covers the stealing of the Death Star plans in the lead up to Star Wars: A New Hope, or Star Wars, or whatever you wish to call it. So we have a character called Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. She is she's on the run because her father, who is a Death Star scientist, has been abducted by the terrible Orson Krennic, who's Ben Mendelsohn. So she's just on the run in prison and so forth until she's broken out because a pilot, an Imperial pilot called Bodhi Rook, who's played by Riz Ahmed, has defected to meet the rebel extremist Saul Guerrera, who's played by Forrest Whitaker, with news of the Death Star. So far has been a secret. He's been sent by Jyn Erso's father, Galen Erso, who's played by Mads Mikkelsen. So rebellion breaks Jyn Erso out of prison to send her on a mission to go and meet this pilot and find out what the deal is, along with Diego Cassian Andor, who's played by Diego Luna, and his funny robot K2SO, who's a motion captured version of Alan Tudyk, because Jyn Erso has some history with Saul Guerrera, and they pick up some people along the way. Chirrut Imwe, who's played by Donnie Yen, who's really fun, he's like a blind monk, essentially. He believes in the Force, but probably doesn't have the Force. Or does he? No, he doesn't. But what? And his grumpy friend, Baze Malbus, who's played by Jiang Wen. They're both fantastic. So we end up with a ragtag bunch who have to go and steal some Death Star plans. It's fine. It looks real good. I don't know. It looks real good. It's not that much of a story, really, but it's okay. What did you think of Rogue One?
I actually really liked it. I was very worried coming into it, like all the trailers and everything, because of Gareth Edwards. I didn't like Godzilla because of the way Gareth Edwards directed it, but his style suits this movie. I really enjoyed the human perspective of it all. I didn't like that in Godzilla. I didn't like seeing everything from 5'7" height and looking up at Godzilla and only seeing his kneecap. But in this, it works. It works, and it works well. Like, because you get to see him. You see him in the space fight scenes where they're in the cockpit and they're diving in between the other ships and that. That worked extremely well there, as well as like just in the war scenes on the ground. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The cinematography was awe-inspiring. It was so clear, it was so crisp. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, the cinematography in this. I loved it. What else did I like? I liked lots of things. I liked pretty much the whole thing. I do have a few niggles with it, but I really enjoy the story. I really enjoyed majority of the characters. And yeah, I think I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan. I like the movies, but I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan. I'm gonna say I probably like this movie more than the rest of them. I'm gonna need a few. I'm gonna need a few more viewings of it to really get into it and really watch it properly. Because midnight screening is not the best time to be watching movies. I don't think you're all tired from work or all that day and that. So I'm going to need a couple more watches, but I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than Force Awakens.
Weird.
Yes,
Yeah,
I noticed you
looks really.
weren't a big
Yep.
fan of it.
Well, it does look amazing. Like it
Mm.
is in terms of spectacle. This is probably the best science fiction battle scenes that have ever been made. I think in terms of spectacle, I don't know if they have that much resonance. Yeah, it's clear. Like most of those moments from for reference, I kind of stopped watching the trailers to avoid trying to overanalyze what had and hadn't been affected by the edits. Um, I don't know if you're not familiar with this, there was supposedly an early edit that was test screened, um, not, and it didn't do so well in test screening, so they then went back to do reshoots under a fixer who also worked on Gareth Edwards' Godzilla called Tony Gilroy. Um, and the film has clearly changed because of that. And we know that because most of the beats from the earliest trailers aren't here. That sort of this is a rebellion, I rebel. That's not here. Um, what will you become? That big moment where Jyn Erso is in a rebel outfit, and Forrest Whitaker is sort of questioning her. That's not here. It's very much a by the numbers adventure movie. We don't really get a great sense of the two leads, which are Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. The cast are fine, like they're understandable, but they're kind of just going through the motions as necessary for the story to work. There's no real characterization here, particularly. They're still fine. Like of all the edited films that have been out recently, it's the best. Um, things like Suicide Squad and Fantastic Four went through the same process. This is better than those movies. It's much more, and it's a much more worthwhile film to see because yes, it does look amazing, both in those battle scenes and in a lot of just the general world building. There's a lot of fun and just exciting moments when we go through some of the cities, when we see some of the planets here. Um, some of just the background detail is wonderful and great. But yeah, the basic story is pretty perfunctory and not that exciting, I don't think.
Oh well, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I liked it. I didn't. It didn't bother me that it was a run of a mill adventure movie. And every movie goes through reshoots. Every movie. So it's they
Yeah,
probably just they probably just don't do it after putting up the trailers, and they wouldn't have as much attention as what a Star Wars movie gets before it comes out. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to look at that too much. They all go through
it's
their
a bit
reshoots.
pointless. Yeah, it's a bit pointless because you can't know exactly what happened until well after the fact, if at all. But the major beats of that trailer aren't here. Like,
Hmm.
it's not just pointing out little shots that aren't in the film. It's the major premise of that first trailer isn't really in this film. That's fine. Like it still works. It still works as a film for the most part. It's just not that resonant. It doesn't really. It is simply an adventure. It doesn't really have the sense of being anything more when it could have, because there's some really interesting little details here. But yeah.
Well, if you're lucky, they might follow the DC approach and release it on Blu-ray,
With a yeah, I don't
the
know if they're
director's
gonna.
cut.
I don't know if they're
No, they
gonna.
won't.
No, they don't really do that with Star Wars
No,
films. Well, maybe. Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt they'll do that.
I doubt it too.
Um, what else? What
Uh,
else?
you,
Yeah.
you know what? There was a few things I wouldn't say. Well, okay, I'm going to say I didn't like, but that kind of threw me off. As at the start, I knew there was no scroll coming. I read that early that there was no scroll at the at the start of the at the movie, but when it came, like we started and it was in the space, and then you kind of got the a long time ago in a faraway galaxy. I thought, here we go. They're actually going to do it, and then it kind of just fizzled out and like went to like a prologue type thing, and then just threw up the title. It did not feel right. I don't know. It felt way off. Because I was expecting the big fanfare, dun 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 dun. Like even if they did that with the title, like it's a long time ago, and they'd get dun 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 throw up the title with Rogue One, the Star Wars story, instead of fizzling out, doing a bit of a prologue, and then just chucking up there Rogue One. And the font looked weird too; it didn't seem right. But the title threw me. That whole start just threw me. It didn't feel right at all.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really do any. It doesn't make a point of not having a scroll, which
Hmm.
is fine. Like it doesn't. I wouldn't say it fizzles because it does kind of like it goes from the a long time ago title card, and then it's just bam straight into a shot of a planet. It doesn't sort of fizzle, and it doesn't really do a wipe or anything. It's just like
It
a quick cut to a planet.
it didn't do the title card straight away. It went down to the planet first, and then to the
Well,
title
to the
card.
sense that, well, not well, to the sense that text on a background is a title card. It's not the title card of the film, but it just has that sort of shot of the text of a long time ago,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
bang,
yes.
and then bang straight onto a planet. It doesn't make. It doesn't really. It's. I mean, if you have to start your film the way the film starts, and you don't necessarily. And I think ideally in this case, it would have done something to differentiate itself or made a point of not having a scroll. I don't think that it's. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do to get right. I think.
I,
But yeah,
I
it
would.
is kind of. You do kind of notice because this is the first one without a scroll. Well, I think Clone Wars didn't have a scroll, but anyway.
I don't think I would have cared if it didn't have a scroll itself, but it kind of set itself. I think it just missed the big beat of just after a long time ago have the big Star Wars title come up, have Rogue
And
One
then
come up with the dun 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 or something very powerful, very like a big fanfare, and then cut down to the planet.
and then just
And,
scroll down without the fanfare. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that could have
yeah,
worked.
without the scroll, that's fine. But it didn't seem to do that. It went a long time ago, and then we panned down to the planet, and then they kind of just chucked it up there, and it just did not feel right. Like even when they did like Clone Wars, the TV series, they had a tiny bit of a scroll, not much, but like they still kind of get the big dun dun dun, dun with the title and then like the episode title. But yeah, I think it could have. I don't know. It felt jarring to start with, and I don't know if that kind of
I think it
yeah,
should have been
it didn't
jarring
feel
myself.
right.
Should have
Well, it
been
was.
more jarring myself. It should have been like it should have jumped straight into something, into running. Star Wars needs to have running. Um,
Mm.
it should have jumped like it should have been an in media res moment where we follow someone just on a desperate run. So we're straight in. I think that could, with no introduction, I think that could have been a good point. But yeah, I think it's difficult to edit your film in such a way that that works. Um, yeah, they could have done Star Wars Rogue One and then scroll down. I guess they're having a prologue in place of a scroll, which is, I guess, the point they're trying to make. I don't
Mm.
know. Anyway, yeah. What did you think of the score? I thought it was incredibly intrusive to begin with. It was kind of just urging on the story and saying, "Look, this is very dramatic. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Pay attention." Blah, 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 blah.
I didn't really notice it that much. So it must have been fine for me. I must have been in the zone for it because I didn't feel intrusive and I didn't feel the lack of it. It must have felt natural because I didn't notice it. I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like the first 15 minutes or so are just rushing to get to the plot, and we don't really have the time to get to know the two leads, Jinoso and Cassian Andor, which doesn't work for me. I wanted to get know something of them before they go off on an adventure. I mean, they don't really have a call to adventure at this point in their hero's journey, if they can be said to have one. They just
Mm.
kind of go. They're kind of sent by some generals. Alistair Petrie just tells them to go off and do stuff, pretty much, which is it can be fine eventually, but yeah.
Well,
having said all this, yeah, another thing I did like is that tonally it's perfect. I think it's very hard to do a film. This doesn't end well for our heroes. It ends well overall. Um, everybody dies, to be honest. But it doesn't. It's not grim and it's not gritty. I mean, it's a bit dark in places. People say this is darker than Empire Strikes Back. I don't really know what that means, but whatever. I don't think it matters because it doesn't feel dark, really. It's kind of triumphant. It's like it's sacrifice, but it's not. It's not like a. It's not like the start of Saving Private Ryan. Basically, like it's a good film. It's triumphant in its tragedy. I think it's quite good at doing that, which a lot. I don't think a lot of films do. I think very few films, especially now, manage to be hopeful while killing everyone. Um, Very few films actually commit to killing characters, which I mean, there's been a lot of films recently where I kind of wished the main characters had died. Um, this one actually does it, so I thought that was real good, to be honest.
I like that. I was expecting that. I didn't really expect anyone to have a happy ending out of this,
No,
since
you kind of
they never
expect.
really turn up in episode 4. So you kind of expect no one's going to have a happy ending. Um, even though the entire cinema that I was in was quite shocked at the end. I'm like, really? Have you ever heard
Yeah,
of these characters before? There's a reason for it.
well, it's a big galaxy, like, and it's. We'll get to this as well. It should like it's possible they then go off and do something like potentially they could have then gone off and done something completely unrelated. Or Felicity Jones might have said, "I'm done with you," and gone. Like I think it's. I didn't anticipate just because you don't see them again that they'd necessarily die. I thought it would have worked tonally quite early in the film, but um, yeah, I didn't anticipate. I didn't expect it necessarily.
And I did like that they committed to it, and that they didn't
Yeah,
try and
yeah,
give
yeah,
him some
yeah.
sort of loophole, like, oh look, he's a transport ship. We'll just escape out of that quickly before the big wave comes and get us, Armageddon style. Was it Dante's Peak? One of them. Might have been Dante's Peak. It was Dante's Peak, where they stand on the beach and the big wave comes. Um, yeah, I liked it. I liked that they killed off the characters. I think more movies should do it. Because all the times that I've always thought about different things, or like when I was at school and I was doing some writing a few stories and that, I always killed off my main characters. It might be it could be the influence Joss Whedon's had on me, but I think it has a lot more punch to it, especially when they've done a lot of good, and so you feel their deaths a little bit more. But you can see the accomplishment, and like they've sacrificed themselves for the rebellion and for the universe. Um, yeah, so I did really enjoy that. I thought that was very good.
Hmm. Speaking of something you just mentioned that I can't remember. Um,
Joss Whedon.
no. Uh, but okay, so there is a ship that escapes at the end, um, and there's a particular character on it who is okay. So the ending, the very ending, which does involve a set piece that I don't think we should talk about because it's kind of an amazing little bookend to the film.
But we're
But
in the
then
hard spoiled.
yeah, even so, I don't think it's necessary. Fuck it. Yeah, we may as well. So there's this amazing. After our heroes have saved the day and died, um, we then Darth Vader turns up, and there's just this amazing scene of him boarding the rebel ship and fighting his way through people, and there's this sort of desperate struggle to get the MacGuffin of the Death Star plans um, into the hands into the ship, the Tantive 4, the Leia's ship from the start of Star Wars. So it very much it bookends directly the first film, which I quite like because it means that now no one's going to go and try and put in a bunch of expanded universe stories in between. That's quite nice. But the scene of Darth Vader is fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's very good.
It's this thing we haven't really seen. There's a bit in Rebels and in the Darth Vader comic, but it hasn't. It's not that frequent in the movies. This sense of Darth Vader being just like an unstoppable killing machine who just mows down people. Um, it's great. It's real fun. It's really effective. It is a bit of a. It does feel like it's kind of tacked on. It's very much there just as an interesting and good scene in itself, to try and tie this to the next film. It's good. I really like it. I thought it was real good. It looks fantastic. We also see Darth Vader's castle from Dark Empire. Darth Vader has a castle, or he did in one of the old comics, and it's back, and it's badass. And he lives in a castle on a lava planet where Obi-Wan Kenobi cut off his arms because he's a mopey bastard. I quite like this castle. But yes, Goma, it ends with a motion capture character, I guess. What did you? I'm curious what you thought of this. Because it ends with the very last shot. Lieutenant 4 takes off and goes flying, and we see the plans end up in the hands of Leia, Princess Leia, and it's a motion capture version of a younger Carrie Fisher, who then says something like, "Oh, it's built on hope." Blah 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 blah. What did you think of this? This is an aspect of the film that I think is really interesting. What did you? We'll start with that one. What did you think of that?
The motion capture or the fact that Leia grabs the plans.
Either or, whichever.
The motion capture shit has.
Interesting. Okay.
Same as Tarkin. He threw me off the whole time.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm curious about this. Like, I picked that immediately. So Tarkin, who is Peter Cushing in the original Star Wars, turns up here as a motion capture. He's played by someone I can't remember who, and it's a motion capture version of a human, of an actual human, a long dead human, Peter Cushing. It's interesting. I don't know if it's just I sort of picked it because I know Star Wars. I don't know if you're just used to picking motion capture. I asked my girlfriend about this afterwards, whether she could pick it. Who was this one character who was motion captured, and she didn't. I think like it's clear. It's not like that pig thing in the last Hobbit movie where you know it's an effect. It's pretty effective really for motion capture. It's not all the way there, but it was pretty good, I thought, in terms of actually looking like a human. I mean, didn't
Yeah,
convince me myself but because I know too much about Star Wars, but yeah, that was interesting.
yeah, they try very hard to make it look good, but the whole time, every time he was on screen, Tarkin was on screen. I was like, it doesn't look right. It looks just a little bit off. Maybe the head wasn't quite positioned on the neck properly for me. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just photoshopped, just a pixel off.
It's like a photograph they printed out and stapled to someone's face. No, it brings up an interesting aspect of this film that it's filled with Star Wars references. It's too many. There's a lingering shot of blue milk. There's Ponda and Dr. Evazan, who are the people that Luke and Obi-Wan run into in the cantina, and Obi-Wan cuts that guy's
Oh
head off.
yeah.
That's them. We get like this stupid scene of explaining what happened to the old Red Five before Luke is sort of like a bumbling idiot who dies in one of the battles. There's too many like lingering references and egregious references. I'm fine with this stuff if you just have Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan walk past and that's fine. It's not distracting. But in this case, there's too much homework involved. There's too many references, and it's to the point where like this film doesn't really stop it doesn't. It's not inhibited by the fact that some of the people in it are dead. In order to link into the wider franchise, we have footage recycled from Star Wars. Um, Drew Hensley, and someone McInnes, red and gold leader. I think Drew Hensley has died. Um, so it's well, it sort of it works. Like if you pick it, it doesn't, but it's fine. But it's able to go to these such lengths to tie in to the wider franchise to create this one continuous story. I don't know. It's very strange to me. Like, there's some fun stuff. I quite like one of the details that I quite liked is that at one point we have like a wooden carved version of the holochess. I quite like that because that says, okay, there's holochess is a thing, but people kind of can make their own in different parts because not everyone has holograms. I like that detail, but they're still like it's able to go to such lengths in order to tie into
Connect it.
everything else.
Yeah.
It's very strange and weird.
Well, I think you may be looking a little bit too much into it or a little bit too critical of it. Just mainly based on the reaction in the cinema for when I don't know their names, the ball face guy and the other
Ponda
one.
Baba.
Yeah, when they walked past, like the crowd went woo and cheered and everything, and like they loved that it was tied in. I didn't care that much. I was like, hey, there's those guys. Um, I didn't cheer, but I did recognize them. But yeah, the crowd seemed to like it. So maybe like the general audience here who aren't going to be super critical of all these references, that they like it. It was like a nice throwback to them. What about C3PO and R2D2? Are
At least,
you?
well, here's the thing. Like, at least that, like, I mean, we know that Leia and her father Bail Organa are around in this
Mm-hmm.
part of the galaxy at this point. So that it's at least plausible that yes, they'd be on the base before. Uh, so they sort of appear just as the rebels are taking off to go and fight the Empire in the final battle. It's at least plausible that they'd be in this part of the galaxy, and in that case, I am kind of used to the fact that they're in every Star Wars movie. The fact that Darth Vader built C3PO as a present for his mum means I'm kind of immune to that aspect of it as well, to be honest. Having said, but yeah, at least it's plausible they're there. When you have Ponda Baba and when you have these two random characters who are fun, just background characters, turn up in completely different parts of the world as a reference. But the effect it has is it makes this world seem smaller. That there's just these, you're going to just run into the same people all the time.
It's not
Um,
Newcastle.
it's not, yeah, it shouldn't feel like Newcastle. It should feel big. And if you're just kind of going to recycle the same images all the time just for cheap nostalgia, it's not going to feel big. Um, so yeah, there's that problem with it as well. I think that's the effect it tends to have is that you end up with that same situation that all the Star Wars novels had, where the Empire is founded by there's a new empire run by Wedge's nephew and Han and Leia's daughter. I mean, you're going to end up with these ridiculous situations again if they keep doing this stuff.
Well, C3PO and R2D2, I'm kind of glad they put them in there, and it gives a bit more backstory as to that Leia knows these droids and doesn't just give the plans to some random droids that she has no connection with, which is kind of what it's like in episode 4. You never really. These droids, they never seem to have a prior connection to it. They never delve into it in episode 4. So I like how they're in it here. It's like, okay, yeah, we know these guys. They're pretty trustworthy. It's not like she's just chucking them in one of those garbage cans with legs. Um, yeah, so I think I'm kind of glad they put them in. The rest, I don't know if I picked up on as many references as you. I only got the glaring obvious ones, really. Um,
Well, did you find it odd when there's like a long, like a quite a lengthy shot of blue milk for no reason?
who the hell's Blue Milk?
Right at the start when they're like in the prologue when uh,
Yeah.
variably Australian Ben Mendelsohn is coming to steal Galen Erso away, there is like as they're rushing out of the house, there is like a lingering shot of blue milk, and it's just because Luke drinks blue milk in the first Star Wars film.
Oh, let's see another thing. I didn't pick up on it. I don't think you pick up on all these things unless that they're in there. They're in there for the hardcore Star Wars nerds who love that stuff and love. Because I'm not the hardcore kind. I didn't pick up on it. I don't know that he drinks blue milk in episode 4, so I didn't pick up on it. But they're nice little Easter eggs there for you hardcore nerds.
Well, but, yeah, I guess if you enjoy that sort of thing, I don't know. Does anyone really care that there's just random shots of stuff you've seen before? No.
I don't know if blue milk would be a thing anyone would care about. Wow,
Oh,
he's
yes,
drinking.
they would.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those icons of the film. What the weird blue milk? Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're drinking it too. Wow. What other food? Oh, what food is there? I don't know.
The food in Star
Yeah,
Wars. Well, there's the
yeah,
expanding bread. That's pretty good.
yeah. They look fun. How come they didn't put that in there?
No, I don't know why they didn't put the expanding bread. I quite like the expanding
Oh
bread.
wow, they're eating the same expanding bread that Ray did. Wow.
Yeah. That would have been like at least that kind of ties. Never mind. I don't think bread is better than milk. Never mind.
We've gone off on a bit of a tangent here.
Talking about milk. Yeah. What else?
Yeah, getting back to that Darth Vader scene, I kind of think he's toying with them. Surely he could kill a bunch of people like on that ship a lot easier than he did. Like it wasn't hard work for him. He just swung through them and force choked a few of them. But really, if he wanted to really get the plans, couldn't he just like force throw them out of the way and
or just
take
pull
the
it out of
plan?
his hand the way he pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of yeah. I don't know.
It feels like he's toying with them, like a cat plays with a mouse or something.
I mean, arguably, yes, he doesn't kind of just bulldoze his way through these people. I think it's, yeah, you could argue this, that he could have, I don't know. I mean, exactly what these characters are capable of has varied so much over the course of the film. Over the course of these films, I don't know whether he could have done that. I mean, probably, but whatever.
But obviously, it wouldn't have looked anywhere near as good. But
yeah, it wouldn't have been quite as effective.
Yeah, but I always think about that. And really, what is the Star Troopers armor made out of? Is it just plastic? Because that armor doesn't stop shit.
It's yeah. I've never quite understood why you can just punch them out. Which is sort of something that happens in Clone Wars quite a lot. That people just smack them in the face, and it seems to work. I don't really know how that works. We could talk at length about the notion of armor being useful. I mean, it's interesting. I guess it's if we want to go off on a tangent. Maybe the point isn't to protect the soldiers, but it's to be symbolic. It's to create this one unifying image of the stormtrooper, this faceless image. That's cinematically that's the point. They're faceless, so you don't care when they die. That's it. And if you want to see an interesting take on that, go watch The Incredibles. Yes, that's why. But yeah,
I get that. I get the uniformity of it. I get that it's the look of it. But really, they can put some armor plating in there or something underneath that plastic, because they would just churn through those stormtroopers. Who really wants to join up and be a stormtrooper after that? After you see, they get shit equipment. There's no sights on the guns at all. It mustn't be, because they can't shoot shit either. There's one guy walking through the middle of the battle, and he doesn't get hit at all.
Now that's interesting. That is, yeah. And I guess, and I suppose the uniformity is undercut by the fact that every movie they have to sell more toys, so they introduce new versions.
I did like the black ones.
Yes, this is interesting. At one point, Donnie Yen is, yes, the blind monk. I don't know how much he draws on Zatoichi, because I don't know enough about Zatoichi. Chirrut Imwe is like a blind guy who believes very strongly in the Force, but he doesn't. I don't think he's not. He's not a Jedi. I don't think he's a Force user as such. And yet, throughout the film, particularly in this one last scene where he's like, "The Force is with me," and he just sort of casually strolls through a battlefield, and all the shots miss him until he flicks the switch that he needs to. I mean, does he have? It's interesting. This notion. It's very much going away from the notion in the prequels that the Force is a thing you have, and because in the prequels there's midi-chlorians, and if you've got a lot of midi-chlorians, you're good at the Force, and if you don't, you're just a guy. Whatever, that's fine. Well, it's not fine because then it's stupid. In this case, it seems like it's his faith, and everyone's faith and hope that determines what the Force does, which I think is really, really fascinating. I don't know if it directly contradicts that notion in the prequels of midi-chlorians exactly, but yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to add to this franchise, and you can play with it quite a bit. I wish it had done a lot more of this. This is one of the missed opportunities of the film. That Chirrut Imwe, he seems to have the Force, but not. And how does that work? That was really, really interesting to me. I wish there'd been a lot more of these background characters explained. I wish we'd seen a bit more of, Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus's backstory and Bodhi Rook's backstory and a few other things, but it's just not there, unfortunately. And more Mon Mothma. I want a Mon Mothma movie. I don't think anyone else does, but I want one. Because, yes.
I was just gonna say it would have been so funny if they try to take a comedic role with him walking through that battle scene, and like he bent down to pick something up, and the shot went over the top of him, and someone pulled him back, and the shot missed him again. I think that would have been some slapstick in there of him just walking through that war scene. It was great. It would have been really well done.
He is quite a fun character. I quite like his "Are you kidding me? I'm blind" when they're trying.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
That was fantastic.
I wonder if the audience would have picked up on that if they didn't directly say it.
Well, I don't know. It's funny if he does it, I guess. If he's
Yeah, it is funny, but I'm curious as to whether somebody would have, like, if he just said, "Are you kidding me?" If he just said, "Are you kidding me?" Like, if he didn't say, "I'm blind," I wonder if many people would have picked up on it. Like, first off, because when they do that, because he added, "I'm blind," I don't know, it felt dumbed down to me. It felt dumbed down. Like, no, we got to explicitly put it in there so we get that laugh. That's a laugh scene. And it didn't. I would have loved it if they didn't say "I'm blind." If they put the bag over his head and said, "Are you kidding me?" and just left it like that. I thought that would have had a lot more punch. Speaking of punch and funniness, what do you think of the robot K2SO?
I loved it. I loved K2SO. Alan Tudyk. I think that robot kind of carries the film to its slower moments because he is funny. I like how he beats stormtroopers with their own kind. I love that. Picking up stormtroopers and throwing them into other stormtroopers. I thought it was great. Like, he's not the best robot in Star Wars, or maybe no, that's R2D2. No, it's BB-8. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he was good fun.
I did not.
He's great.
He is. He's got the funny lines, and he has some great emotional moments, like where I don't want to say Ray. What's her name in this? Jen. Jen shoots one of the other droids that looks like him, and he sees it. And he's like, "Oh, did you know that wasn't me?" It doesn't feel right for a droid. It feels. I know C-3PO is quite emotive, but he's still robotic. He doesn't feel robotic enough for me. And they kind of explain it by saying, yeah, he's got sassy because of all the reprogramming or something. It's a side effect from the reprogramming. It doesn't, everything he said seemed too human, and it didn't feel robotic enough. It didn't feel stilted enough. It was all too emotive, and it didn't quite land with me. It felt wrong coming out of what I was looking at.
Well, that's part of the course in Star Wars, isn't it? I mean, the robots don't really behave the way you would build a robot at all. I mean, 3PO has always been a flippity gibbet. I mean, he's terrified. He argues with everyone for no reason, and R2D2 is just a sassy little box. I mean,
But
I don't think
you
it's
don't hear his sassiness.
but you know it's there. I mean,
I don't know. It just it didn't feel the right fit for the dialogue or character for what I was looking at for some
isn't
reason.
that part of the joke? Isn't that it's so incongruous?
Yes, yeah, and that is the joke, but it took me out of it.
Mm.
It didn't seem to fit it. But I'm very much in the minority here because the entire cinema was erupting anytime he opened his little droid mouth. Did he even have a mouth? I can't
No,
remember.
not really.
Um, and it could also be because I was listening to Alan Tudyk the whole time. I knew it was him, and that's who I heard the whole time in it. It's not like some of the other characters he's voiced, and you don't pick up on it. Like if his character in Wreck-It Ralph, you don't pick up that it's him. Or like in Zootopia or Frozen. He's got minor roles in that, but you don't pick up that it's him. And I could clearly hear that it was Alan Tudyk. And I couldn't turn that off. I couldn't just get into the character because that's all I was hearing for it. So maybe that's why it also didn't feel quite like a fit for the character itself.
Fair enough.
Mm.
What else?
What else did happen?
Did you feel the need that they needed to explain exactly how the rebels could sort of sort through the Death Star plans and find the weakness so quickly when the Empire had no idea it was there?
Yeah, a little bit convenient, wasn't it?
It's kind of I don't know. I don't think it was necessary to do that. It was just kind of, and it does make you question like a lot of other technical things in the film, like why do they have that convoluted library machine to get the USB sticks? That was stupid.
I Maybe I might have dozed off for that. I don't remember that library scene at all.
Well, it's not really. They're not really a library, but at the very end, where they have like that tower of USB stick things, and he's got to use the robot arms to go get it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was so convoluted. Why? And it's got the chomping door at the top. Why does it have that?
Yes. I was looking at that going, why is this necessary? Why is this even here? Why the hell? What? and Ben Mendelsohn just like goes up the elevator.
Yeah, he got. That was quite good.
Yeah. But even like Diego, he's like all injured and like knocked out. He still managed to climb the whole thing and get through the chomping door to save Jen.
He's Cassian Andor. He's driven. Maybe he just climbed out the window and took the lift as well. I don't know.
That would have been easier. But yeah, why is that chomping door there? It's a bit like in Galaxy Quest, how he's going through it. He's like, why is this even here? And that's what it reminded me of. I'm like, what the hell?
I was the same. Where is Sigourney Weaver to call attention to this? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. I forgot about that chomping door. It was pretty good. It would have been better if they like shoved Ben Mendelsohn's head down there and it like just flopped it off.
Yeah, that's a bit dark. Jeez.
But I actually, speaking of anti-dark, which is light, I love how this big battle scene happens on a resort planet, on a resort island. It's so bright and relaxing. Everything else is every other war movie is overcast and dark, and it's hard to see what's going on. This one's bright. You can feel like you put a beach towel down and have a swim while things are firing around you. I liked it. I liked it. And you get that scene. You get that scene of the Death Star rising at the planet, and it just looks so beautiful. I can't get over some of these shots that are in this.
Yes, I'm going to see it again just for that, I think.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely need to see it again. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really, really well done. And now Gareth Edwards for me is 1-1. I didn't like one of them, and I do like one of them. So I might have to give him a pass on Godzilla 2. I might have to go back and see it. I don't remember. Somebody is. But yeah, so Gareth Edwards, you're back at nil, I suppose. Clean slate, Gareth. Good work. Yes.
Anything else we needed to mention? I don't know.
I had a thing I was going to, but now I can't remember what it was.
Is it that
I don't recall.
There's random references to rebels in there.
No, I missed them.
Fair enough. There's just you kind of see ships from rebels at a few points, and at one point you hear the PA and the rebel base calling for General Syndulla.
Oh, okay.
There you go. What else?
I don't know. Oh, there was something.
Something with Mon Mothma or Jimmy Smits being in this, or sort of the random cast members who, like, there's a bunch of cameos here from people we've seen in other things.
No. Oh, James Earl Jones voice and got Darth Vader again. I thought that was great.
Yes.
As soon as he started talking, it was like, yes, it brought it back. I know he's doing it in Rebels now as well, like a few episodes he's been in. But yeah, having the live action Darth Vader with the voice, it brought it all back. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. It felt right. And he was he was a bit of a bitch in this too.
He's a sassy bastard. It's fantastic.
Yeah, like he's talking, and then like the guy starts stroking. He's like, "Try not to choke on your words."
Try not to choke on your ambition or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was ambition. It was ambition.
Oh my god! Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. We don't know that much about how Darth Vader goes day to day, and we see a bit more of that here. It's quite good.
I kind of want to see him whistling, like just as he's chopping through some people, like having a jaunty whistle.
Just of his own theme. Yes, that would be magnificent.
That sounds more like a Lego Star Wars movie scene.
Yes, that sounds like the Lego Rogue One, a Lego story.
I think there's such good stuff in this. I think I was a lot more pleased with them than you were. But maybe you need to take a step back, and because you're like the hardcore Star Wars fan, maybe it's appealing more to a general audience.
Well, even then, like that first 15 minutes is all just we got to get to here, we got to get to here, we got to get to here. Right, we're going out on the adventure. These characters aren't established like particularly well. That's not like.
I think Diego's is.
Well, like perfunctorily, like you know stuff about them. That's fine, but it's the minimum required information in order to understand their motivations. It's not like a proper. There's nothing really to distinguish them from like other characters we've already seen. It's like he's a driven rebel who'll do terrible things in order to get the job done. Okay, cool. She's a kind of sometimes sarcastic criminal who's just wants her dad, maybe? I don't know. Cool. And that's basically it. There's not much more to it. There's not much to differentiate them from other things we've seen before.
I suppose. Yeah, I like that you don't see these hardcore rebel soldiers much who will kill the innocent man just for the mission.
Yeah, it's not really brought up in Star Wars that much. That presumably, well, in the movies, I think a lot of the older novels did bring it up. But yeah, it's not really brought up that a rebellion is probably not the noble thing that we may believe it to be. So it's good that it engages there, but there's no discussion of that. It's just kind of these, I'll do desperate stuff. All right, cool.
And he kind of doesn't do it again. He does it at the start.
Yeah, and that, like, yeah, why doesn't he shoot Galen? Like, at one point, Diego Luna is ordered to, like, we're not rescuing Galen, so just shoot him. I don't know why he doesn't. Like, I don't know why he pauses in that moment to,
Because
like,
he tries to save someone.
well,
So he's like, oh, maybe he's actually good.
but does he know what's going on? Does he care?
Yeah.
Like, those, like, the people he's trying to save, Death Star, like, they've built a planet killer. Like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me that, like, well, we don't accept that what the plot requires. We don't really understand why he pauses at that point to not kill Galen Erso.
Yeah, it's kind of just implied because he steps in front of the other fella to save him, or the other people. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was like, well, who who leaked the plans, or who sent the message and whatnot. He's like, yep, it was me. Don't kill these guys. It was me. But he can't hear that. So
yeah, he doesn't know what's going on. Like, he can kind of infer it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He kills a guy just kind of
because he knows for talking loudly.
Well, yeah, he knows. I guess he knows that guy can't escape, and I mean, it's presumably, if he's caught, he'll be interrogated, which is going to be a long, lingering death, and he might give stuff away. So it's just kind of a mercy, and also better for the rebellion to just kill him. Fine. Okay, that's a fairly terrible thing to do, but it's what you're driven to do in this terrible war. I don't know why he'd be willing to do that, but then not kill Galen Erso. It's very strange.
See, I didn't see that much into it when he killed that guy at the front at the start. Like, I can see your point there, but I just got it was, hey, this guy is making a noise. He's the stormtrooper's going to come and get me if he keeps up all this noise. I'll just quiet him down. It's going to be okay.
Well,
and kill him.
They were already coming, weren't they? Like,
yeah, but
already heard, so
they heard, but they didn't know exactly where he was. It's like, shut up. Anyway. Die.
Well, yeah. Regardless, like, it's kind of for, you know, it's for the mission. So I don't know why he'd be like, if he's willing to do that, I don't know why he'd be pausing and second guessing himself.
Yeah.
When he's just watching a thing. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, except that it's driving the plot. It's necessary for the plot to function, and that's what's I don't like about this movie broadly, is that most of the leads' motivations are just to get the movie done, and aren't really sort of organic or coming out of like an understanding of those characters that we're given to begin with. They're just it's just kind of stuff that happens.
Oh, we haven't spoken about Pirate Forrest.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker's in this as a man who talks like this.
He's doing his best Eddie Redmayne impression.
Oh, what? Yeah, he's got a peg leg at one point, and so yeah, he's Saw Gerrera, who he turns up briefly in Rebels and has been mentioned since then, and is in the prequel novel Catalyst to Rogue One. It does explain some of the things that aren't explained in the movie, if you're interested. Yeah, he's all right. Again, I don't know why he sort of just decides, I'm not getting out of this planet. I'm just going to die, because why not? I don't know why he did that. He was kind of over the top. I thought he was okay, but yeah, I don't know. What did you think of?
Yeah, he was all right. I was like, "There's a pirate here. Does anyone else see this pirate?"
I liked his hanger on, just like I mean, he can't really go out, so he has a guy to go and do stuff for him, and that guy's name is Two Tubes, which I quite like.
I like that whole scene, because that's also like an extremist for the rebel for the rebels,
Yeah,
and
that's
they're like going a lot darker than what the main rebellion will do. So I like seeing that. I like seeing that they're not just the good guys; that they are going to dark places for good reasons, or for what they think are the right reasons.
yeah.
They're always the best characters who are doing the bad stuff for what they believe is right, whether it is or not. Even villains in movies, as long as they believe they're doing it for the right reasons, that I find them the most interesting characters.
Well, yes, of course. Like villains need decent motivation. I don't know. Like again, we don't really we don't understand how he's got to that point. You know what I mean, he's pretty cruel. I don't understand. He has like a mind reading squid, and I don't understand his relationship with the mind reading squid. Like, is he friends with it? Like, does it tell him what it's found out? What's the deal with that? How does that
Hmm.
work?
Maybe it's a heptapod from Arrival.
Maybe, but oh, it's it's a shared universe between Star Wars and that doesn't make any sense. Anyway,
Hmm.
yeah, what's the deal with that squid? I want to know that.
That was pretty cool. I do like squids.
Yeah, he's okay, and then he kind of just I don't know why he died. Well, I kind of do. Like he's on his last leg, but
Uh,
we don't really know enough about him. And then he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to escape the Death Star test shot, whatever. Bye. It's very strange.
because everyone dies in Rogue One.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair enough. That'll do. That'll do. Information.
I was disappointed Mads Mikkelsen didn't have his glittery eyeshadow on.
Yes, that would have been fantastic. All right, is that it for Rogue One? Really?
I
It's
think
good,
so.
but it's not
I think
brilliant.
so.
Like,
It's good. I liked it a lot more than Tim, but yes.
all right, so that's about it. If you want to read our main blog, where I have a review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it's at sfdfmoviereviews.tumblr.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/sfdf. We're on Twitter at sfdf. No, sorry, we're at Facebook at facebook.com/sfdf movie reviews. We're on Twitter at sfdf movie review. If you just want to listen to the podcast, we're at soundcloud.com/sfdf or wherever good SoundClouds are found. We're also on iTunes, just search SFDF. And if you want to email us to tell us what you thought about things, you can get to us at in space no one can eat ice cream at gmail.com. And if you want to find links to all these things, as well as a bunch of other good stuff, it's down the right side of the main blog, which again is sfdfmoviereviews.tumblr.com. All right, cool. So that's about it from us. Say goodbye, Terry.
Goodbye, Terry.
We'll see you later. Bye.